Nice.
Yes, indeed.
Tell me about the Roxanne beef.
Well, just my personal opinion, it was really never a beef because um, we never knew each other. We made a record called Roxanne Roxanne, which was actually a B side cut to a song called Hanging Out. Hanging Out was the song that we were recording that the record company was putting the funding into. We had a single deal at the time. We were with Select Records. And our first single deal was a record called Beats and Rhymes. Did okay. The record company gave us another single deal, and that was for the Hanging Out record. The record company suggested, why don't y'all just put a B side together? We didn't know what we was going to do for the B side because a lot of energy and time went into doing the A side, which was Hanging Out. One of the guys from Full Force, B Fine, suggested, why don't you just make it about a girl? Kango and them was like, well, who? What we gonna name it? He's like, I don't know, name it Roxanne. So that name was just thrown out of the air. It could have been anything. Could have been Mary. Could have been any name you think of. So the concept of the song that they wanted to do was, instead of talking about a girl that they got, they wanted to talk about a song that all three of them didn't get. And I think originally they wanted it to be set up where Kango and EMD bombed and Doc got the girl. But I think they were like, no, that ain't fair. So they ended up making a song where they all didn't get the girl. This girl does not exist. This is just a rap song. And we name it Roxanne Roxanne. Make a long story short. So all three of them are rapping about this girl that they didn't get. Actually, they're dissing each other. Kango, Doc, and EMD are dissing each other about this girl that they all want that neither one of them get. Record takes off, blows up, is doing great. The B side, which is Roxanne, takes over and surpasses the A side. Everybody's going crazy off this Roxanne thing. It's taking off, it's doing its thing, and we're starting to get cemented into the hip hop culture. We starting to blow up a little bit, and here comes an answer record from this girl from Queens, whose name was Lolita Goodman, I think her name was, but her rap name was, I believe, Fly Shantae. So she answers the record, Marley Marl, and I'm not sure the whole dynamics on how it all came together, but their original answer to us was using our instrumental. We had an instrumental to Roxanne Roxanne. So they took the instrumental, our instrumental, and she laid some raps on top of it. It originally started off, if I believe, as a tape, and they had played it on the radio. And I think they took it as an answer record, like it was a diss record. So it was like, it just took off. I think that gave them the light bulb to go and press this thing up and start taking off with it. But they had to stop production on that original one because they was using our instrumental, and Select Records went after them for that. But our momentum was so big with Roxanne Roxanne, they had enough time to go in, redo it, restructure it, and then come out and call it Roxanne's Revenge. Gotcha. That's why you heard Marley Marl redo it. Right. Sounds very similar to ours. Yes, the beat sounds similar. Some of the scratches sound kind of similar. But so anyway, so when you say beef, I never looked at it as a beef because we didn't know each other. A beef is two people that got beef that know each other. It was more of an answer record than anything. But we never knew her. She never knew us.
Did y'all do shows together? Ever? Like as a competition thing?
There were some promoters that did link us together because we were the hot ticket at that time.
Right, I remember.
But there was tension between us because we weren't favorable to what had happened. Gotcha. Because what a lot of people didn't realize is we also was in development of creating our own Roxanne. Right. So the timing on this was just absolutely insane. But we didn't let that stop us. That's why we still came out with the real Roxanne, because that was not our Roxanne. Gotcha. And if this is our record, we're going to determine who Roxanne is.
Thank you.
So that's where the real Roxanne came into play.
That makes sense.
And then that camp took that as a diss. Because now we're saying, no, you're not going to be our Roxanne. This is going to be our Roxanne.
So that's why she took shots at her?
Yeah, so that's where the phenomenon really got created. Yeah. Because now we're saying, here's our Roxanne. We're gonna name our own Roxanne. We're gonna call it a real Roxanne. Mm-hmm. So when you say this is the real Roxanne, it's almost like a shot at what had came prior.
But they swagger jacked anyways because the song was about a girl. How they gonna just say I'm that girl?
There you go.
Thank
you.
That's it right
So there. When the real Roxanne came out, now there's tension that way between the Roxannes, gotcha. And then that opens the floodgates for all the other answer records.
How many was it?
Oh man, everybody it was a lot, man. It was a lot. It was all over the place, even overseas.
And all of them was making money, weren't they?
Yeah, because that was the hot ticket. That whole Roxanne saga.
Well, that's the biggest saga in hip hop ever, wasn't it?
I don't think hip hop has ever seen anything like that Roxanne saga. Yeah, because after that it was endless records.
Endless.
Just everybody.
I think last count
is
like 60 or 80.
It was a lot. Some probably that didn't even make it on the national level. Yeah. But it was quite a few. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's a blessing to be in this hip hop culture, and to make it onto a national level. But I believe our record would have sustained its momentum regardless. However, it also was able to sustain with all the extra diversions as well. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Because it kept it on the airways. Yes. It kept it on the airways.
Kept it all fresh.
You know what I mean? It kept it on the airways. Mm-hmm. But we was fortunate enough to be able to make a record that kind of demanded that kind of response all over the place. It just kind of took off in that era. But originally, the record wasn't about anybody in particular. There was no face to the record. The person didn't even exist. They was just making a rap about a girl that none of them got. Gotcha. And we was going to create a face for it. But then, there was slight diversions. And here come you got Shantae calling herself Roxanne Shantae. Mm-hmm. So then we come out with the real Roxanne. So, and then it takes off from there. Sparky D got involved. And Sparky D and Shantae went at it. And it just was crazy after that.
Where are you originally from?
Originally, born and raised in, well, let me correct that. Born in Harlem and raised in Brooklyn. Gotcha. So I was born in Harlem. My mom moved to Brooklyn when I was 3. So Brooklyn raised me, but I was technically born in Harlem Hospital. I was born in Harlem.
How was it working with Full Force? Did they do your production?
Yes.
Did you did some production too, didn't you?
Yes. Yes. Working with Full Force is phenomenal because they are musicians and a band as well. Mm-hmm. But there's 6 of them. The original 6 members of Full Force. They all of them, contributed something different. Besides great vocals, they played instruments. So, they can get in there and lace it. But yeah, working with them was phenomenal. We're all from the same neighborhoods of East Flatbush, Brooklyn, and it was always great going in the studio with them, man, because they got a great ear.
So I know you scratch. Believe it or not, I know you scratch. And I heard you on some records, and I was like, "That's ice." Could you do me a favor? Could you just shout out some of the people? And I know you did K9 Posse, didn't you? And then yes. You did Antoinette. Yes. Will you just name some? You don't got to say the song. Mm-hmm. Just name some of the names that you scratched on, like some people you scratched for.
Okay, so yeah, K9 Posse, like you said, Antoinette did some work with her. Bobby Brown. Helped Bobby Brown do his solo album, his first solo album. He has a song on there. The album's called King of Stage.
This ain't a regular guy here sitting in his chair right now. I'm trying to tell y'all. And a lot of people, and I love my city, but a lot of people, like, who is he? Mm-hmm. This guy, go ahead, continue.
Bobby Brown, he had a song called, his album was called King of Stage. And on that album, he has a single called King of Stage that is featuring me. That's another song. Let me see. Lisa and Coach Jam.
I heard that song too.
There was a couple of artists on Select Records. I can't remember the name of them offhand, but because we were label mates, a lot of times they would want to recruit me to come in and pay me to scratch on top of some of their stuff. I can't remember them off the top of my head. Please forgive me for that, if you guys are listening. But a shout out to y'all anyway. But a couple of artists that were on Select Records back then. I laced with some scratches. Let's see who else. It's a bunch, man. Off the top of my head.
Too. Whenever I hear it, I'm like, that's ice.
Right here in the city, I did some cuts for Jay Rawls and Lone Catalyst and them. Laced them with some pretty good stuff.
That's my boy.
Let me see. Who else? Off the top of my head. Oh man, I know I'm forgetting a bunch. I know I'm forgetting a bunch. But yeah, but you know, I did a lot of scratching on UTFO albums,
You put
and
your
I
foot down.
always was trying to come up with something
It was
different.
always clever. It was
Yeah,
always clever. It
yeah,
wasn't like a blah, 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 blah. It was always a pattern to it.
yeah,
It was always like
yeah. Or what
I
I
love
liked,
it.
or
Love it.
what I like to do was collaborate on patterns and put a lot of different patterns together and match them up inside of the bars. You know, so you might hear one pattern for a few seconds and another pattern for a few seconds and another pattern. I love combo patterns. I was real big on that.
Yes, you was. Okay, do you have like a DJ person that you just don't get along with, and it's just like you might have battled him? You know, I'm talking about back day.
Hmm.
Back day. You have a DJ that you came up with, and for some reason was hating on you, or it was just something just went wrong with
Hmm.
you. You rubbed each other the wrong way. Uh, do you have that person? If you don't want to say their name, you don't have to say their name. Did you ever end that beef? Did you ever
Hmm.
get it on with that person?
Well, I would definitely name their name, but unfortunately, that I've always been cool with everybody. For the most part, everybody's been cool with me, at least to my face.
Okay.
Um, I never had any DJ beef with anybody. Um, for the most part, I've always got along with DJs. DJs always got along with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the end of the day, the work speaks for itself.
Thank you.
You
Thank
know what
you.
I'm saying? I took what I did seriously, and if anybody got a problem with that, that's their business. You
The
know what I
reason
mean?
why the
At the end of the day, you know, God gives us talents, and it's what you do with them talents that is going to bless your journey moving forward.
thank you.
And you know, I'm very fortunate and blessed to have been in the position I'm in. You know, the wheel was already rolling before I started.
Thank you.
I had the you know the I had I was put in position to learn from greats before me. When you start talking about, you know, people that started the foundation of this hip hop thing, you know, I'm very, very blessed to eat. You know, first of all, I'm friends with some of these people now, but being young, they were like gods to us. You know, even like rappers, like Melly Mel was like a god MC to us back
Mm-hmm.
then. DJs, Grandmaster Flash was like a god DJ to
Mm-hmm.
us.
Mm-hmm.
Grand Wizard Theodore, you know, and going all the way back to what got them started, which was Kool Herc. And then you got Africa Bambaataa and his whole camp with Red Alert and Jazzy J. I mean, I can name them all. I studied them all. You know what I mean? And hip hop for me, the DJ culture was similar to a course. I studied the ones before me.
And that's
I practiced to the ones before me what they had done and accomplished and put out nationally. Because as the bar gets raised, you know, you want to be able to do what everybody's doing and then add your 2 cents to the game. I was fortunate to be able to add a few cents to the game. But you know, I always pay homage to those before me because the original pioneers of this culture we call hip hop are the ones that set the stage. I'm just an extension to the branch of what we done by getting it out the mud. Hip hop is from out of the mud. You know what I'm saying? And we took what we had and made the most from it. Hip hop now seems so glamorous, but it wasn't so glamorous back in the '70s. Them guys, from the Bronx and from Brooklyn and from Queens that were really putting in the work to evolve it to where it is now. I'm very fortunate to be a part of that culture, but I always have to pay homage to them greats before me.
I kind of feel silly asking you that question now because I think about how humble you are, and I'm fortunate to say that I've met you before, back when you were like on the top, like when you were UTFO was booming and y'all
Yeah.
did a show in '87.
Okay.
It was either '86 or '87 at the Vets, and I was slated with a rapper Omega Flash T to open up for you
Okay.
because I knew the promoter, and I was slated to open up for you, but we didn't get to go on. But I went backstage, and I know you don't remember. I went backstage, and y'all were getting off the bus or whatever, and I was talking to you, and you was super cool. Like,
Okay.
and that says a lot for your character. Like, you was just talking to her, she's like, word? You was like, Columbus? Like, I was like,
Right.
and you just was cool. You looked me in the eye and was talking to me. You wasn't like going on something, or you wasn't like you trying to walk away from me. You was just like talking. And I left out of there thinking like, that is a cool dude. So that was a silly question to say. Did you have beef? Because your character is not like that.
Mhm.
You were, all, and that's way back what 86, 87?
He said that we was on our
And
third
and
album by then.
and
Yeah.
and it just goes to show when you're on top doing something and you're that humble still, you're humble on top. You're gonna always be humble. So it
Facts.
don't matter what happens. That's just you. That's just your DNA.
You kn-
That's just you
you know
as a
what?
person.
And I
And I
appreciate
respect that.
that, man.
That's real talk.
At the end of the day, we're all young at that time, young people trying to find our way in something. And hip hop was a way, especially for me, coming from where I came from in Brooklyn, East Flatbush. Hip hop saved me. You know what I mean? It saved my life, man. I mean that wholeheartedly. So moving forward to be an inspiration to others, I didn't take that lightly. You know what I mean? So when I would meet people and they came at me the right way, it's all love. You know what I'm saying? Because I was that person at one point in time. You know what I mean? I was inspired by the pioneers before me. You know what I mean? So while you're traveling and people looking up to you, you show them love. I mean, it doesn't cost nothing to be nice. If you have the time to have a word or two, you can make somebody's day just by having a word or two.
And you made my day.
So I
You made my
appreciate
day.
that.
You made my day
You know,
because I was already like a fan. I was always like, I want to
Mhm.
do his cuts. Then
Yeah.
I seen you and you was cool too.
Yeah.
And you wasn't like, man, I gotta go, man, I gotta go. You was just like, word, like,
you
what's
know,
going on?
you let the work speak for itself.
Thank you.
Some people, their character can cover up for their lack of work.
Yeah.
Or their lack of ability.
Yeah, that's true.
Excuse me. You let the work speak for itself. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I bust my ass plenty of times practicing, practicing. And this was back when we had equipment that you had to have skills.
Thank you.
Many needles.
Thank you.
Wearing out records.
Thank you.
Breaking faders. You gotta buy, So I come from that era where you had to really be on top of your skill level. That's why technology sometimes is a curse and a blessing, because now the technology does the majority of the work for DJs that's coming up now. Now they can still be very creative and do dope transitions that because you're able to do stuff on the fly.
Yeah,
You're able
push
to
your
hit cue
button
points.
and go to
Yeah, so I mean, all that is fine and dandy, but if you take technology away and put all these DJs on some wax, 2 turntables in a mixer,
That's my whole point I'm
the
trying to say.
game has changed for them.
That's my whole